Welcome back to Film Canvas. Today I will show you an action drama thriller film from 2018, titled Red Sparrow. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The story unfolds by switching between the lives of our two main characters in Russia. First, we have Dominika Egorova, a renowned ballerina who is responsible for caring for her ill mother. After a doctor's visit, Dominika leaves her mother with a caretaker so she can head to work. At the theater, she changes and applies her makeup before meeting the guests, which include her uncle Ivan Egorov, deputy director of the Russian Secret Service. He introduces her to Dmitry Ustinov, a Russian gangster who asks for a photo and takes the opportunity to touch her inappropriately. Soon after, the play begins, and Dominika dances beautifully as always, when suddenly her partner jumps and lands on her leg. She is rushed into surgery. The other character we follow is Nate Nash, a CIA agent, taking a call from an automated system that gives him specific words. He uses them to decode a meeting location and grabs his gun before leaving. The secret meeting spot is a park at night, and upon arrival, he notices a car tailing him. A mysterious man, codenamed Marble, approaches, and Nate passes him something as they cross paths on the street. Nate creates a diversion by firing at the ground and starts running while the car pursues him. He reaches the city and finds himself surrounded by police, just as he arrives at the American embassy. Inside, he meets with his superiors, who inform him that the asset is safe, but Nate will still be sent back to the USA for his error. The next day, Ivan visits Colonel Zakharov, the Secret Service director, in his office. General Vladimir Korchnoi is also present. They show Ivan footage of Nate's park meeting and note that he is a CIA agent who left the country that morning, but their main focus is on the other man and uncovering his identity. We then return to Dominika, waking up in the hospital to find her leg in a metal frame. She breaks down, realizing she may never dance again. 3 months pass. Dominika, still relying on a cane, is visited by Ivan. He remarks that a replacement has already been found, and that the theater's support for her apartment and her mother's medical expenses will end now that she no longer works for them. Ivan says he wants to help and asks her to come to him when ready, leaving an envelope before departing. Dominika opens it and discovers pictures revealing that her dancing partner has been romantically involved with his replacement, along with a recording of their conversation that suggests he deliberately jumped on her so his girlfriend could replace Dominika. Later that day, Dominika is at the theater, observing her former partner and the new girl during practice. Once they finish, they head to the steam room, and Dominika follows, only to discover them engaged intimately. Fueled by rage, Dominika uses her cane to strike them both to the ground before fleeing. On the bus home, she notices her hands are covered in blood and decides to get off, stopping at a payphone to report her actions as an accident. Upon reaching her apartment, she finds her mother on the bathroom floor, the caretaker nowhere to be seen. Her mother explains the theater stopped paying her, with no other options. Dominika seeks out her uncle for help. He agrees, provided she assists him with a small assignment. The Secret Service wants information on Ustinov, whom Dominika met at the theater. Ivan instructs her to approach him, befriend him, and gain his trust through her charm. Dominika initially resists, but Ivan persuades her by pointing out the poor conditions of state hospitals and promising the best care for her mother. That very night, Dominika goes to Ustinov's hotel, dressed in the outfit she's been given. She waits at the bar for Ustinov to make the first move, which he does. Dominika tells him she came to see him to feel special again, and they head to her room. She asks the guards to leave them alone, and Ustinov begins undressing as soon as his men leave the room, he asks Dominika to undress as well. She hesitates at first, but complies, and when she moves closer, Ustinov immediately takes advantage of her. Their act is abruptly interrupted when a man wearing a black helmet appears behind Ustinov and slits his throat. The body collapses to the floor, and after signaling for silence, the man tosses Dominika a coat to cover her bloody body and leads her out of the room through a back exit. In the parking lot, he shoots an employee before getting them on his motorcycle and riding to an abandoned building. Inside, the man removes his helmet, revealing Sergei Matorin, another Secret Service agent sent by Ivan. While in another room of the same building, Korchnoi watches Dominika via security cameras. When Korchnoi suggests she should be eliminated as a witness, Ivan counters that she could prove useful. Ivan then changes rooms to confront Dominika, admitting he knew what would happen in that room but didn't warn her. Knowing she wouldn't have gone through with it, he presents her with an offer. Because of her her skills, she can be sent to a special institution for agent training. If she refuses, he won't be able to protect her, leaving her no choice but to accept. A few days later, Dominika departs for the institution. Upon arrival, she is greeted by Matron, the headmistress of Sparrow School, who assigns her a fake name for the school and shows her to her room. Classes begin shortly after, with Matron explaining that the modern world is in chaos and that Russia is the only nation willing to make sacrifices to restore order. The students are to be trained as sparrows, elite spies specializing in seduction and psychological manipulation. Dominika and a student named Victor are called to the front and asked to undress. Victor complies without issue, but Dominika hesitates. Matron reprimands her for this. Meanwhile, Nate has been summoned by the CIA's disciplinary panel and is informed he will be suspended for his error in Russia and is barred from leaving the country. Nate protests, explaining that their mole Marble has been working with him for 3 years and will trust no one else, but his objections are ignored. Back at Sparrow School, Matron instructs the class on identifying the desires of their targets. She displays videos as exercises. Victor guesses incorrectly on the first, and Dominika corrects him, earning his dislike. In the next example, another female student is brought to the front and instructed to use her mouth on the man from the video, who is cuffed and present in the classroom. She fails and collapses in tears. Matron emphasizes the importance of controlling and tricking the body, teaching them basic seduction techniques. Meanwhile, in the USA, Nate notices he is being followed and reports it to his superiors. He discovers the CIA has received no updates from Marble and reminds them he will only communicate if Nate contacts him directly. They agree that he cannot return to Russia, but can be sent to a nearby country to signal his presence, prompting Marble to reappear. Nate consents, bringing his team along. Back at the school, the students are instructed to welcome a group of soldiers who have just returned from war. Dominika selects a young man and takes him to her room, where she successfully performs the task assigned to her. Later, Matron and the students review all the footage of their exercises with the soldiers. Matron commends Dominika's technique, but notes she still hasn't fully learned to surrender herself. After class, Dominika goes to the showers, where Victor attacks her. She defends herself by grabbing the water tap from the wall and striking him. Meanwhile, Ivan, Korchnoi, and Zakharov discuss Nate's relocation to Budapest. They consider taking action but are aware the president does not want anything that could appear antagonistic toward the USA. Ivan suggests assigning the mission to someone else. Back at Sparrow School, Matron and a newly arrived Korchnoi interrogate Dominika about her attack on Victor. Matron believes she still has potential, while Korchnoi requests a private moment with her. Once alone, he questions her again, and Dominika explains that she answers to the state, not her classmate. She is allowed to return to class, where Matron calls her forward again while Korchnoi observes via security camera. Dominika is shown a photo of Victor and asked what he desires as he enters. Matron instructs her to give him what he wants. Victor asks her to turn around. Dominika refuses but takes action. As she undresses, he is told to focus solely on her. Once fully exposed, she positions herself provocatively, daring him to take the next step. Victor fails to perform and runs off when Dominika mocks him. She then answers Matron's question. What he truly wants is power. Shortly after, Matron meets Dominika privately and informs her she will be sent back to Moscow. A few days later, while reuniting with her mother at home, Dominika receives a call instructing her to meet Ivan at a restaurant. Upon arrival, she sits with him as he explains her next mission. She must go to Budapest, befriend Nate, and gain his trust to uncover the identity of their mole. He provides her with a new passport and documents under a different name. Dominika leaves without having eaten. She arrives in Budapest a couple of days later and moves into an apartment she will share with fellow Sparrow, Marta. Later that day, she meets her new boss, Station Chief Maxim Volantov, and requests information about Nate. Afterwards, she follows Nate to observe his routine. The next day, Dominika goes to the same swimming pool as Nate and allows him to approach her as they leave the building. They chat briefly, but Dominika maintains a distant attitude, fabricating a story about being an embassy translator. The following day, she does not find Nate at the pool, and the receptionist informs her that her ID is missing. Nate already knows she isn't who she claims to be. We then see him reporting to his superiors that she has been using multiple aliases while making the connection to Ivan. He considers her valuable and views her use of her real name as a deliberate provocation. After some hesitation, his superiors permit him to get closer to her to gather intelligence. Following a visit to Volantov to report her progress and request an embassy pass, Dominika goes to the embassy and notices Marta talking with Stephanie Boucher, an American politician. Nate interrupts her observation, confessing he was the one who took her ID from the pool. Nate then invites her to dinner the following day at 8, and Dominika agrees before leaving. Back at her apartment, she searches Marta's room and discovers that Marta has been buying intelligence from Boucher. Marta returns home but does not catch her in the act. Dominika is given a copy of the report Volantov sent to Moscow, making it clear she has created an enemy. The next day after work, she follows Volantov into a bar and asks him to give her more time to produce a better report, then provokes him into striking her by mocking him. His violence is recorded on security cameras, and Dominica tells him he must write a proper report or she will take the footage to the authorities. Meanwhile, Nate waits alone in a restaurant for his date. Assuming he has been stood up, he leaves, unaware that Dominica is following him closely. At his apartment, Nate receives another coded message, which he quickly deciphers. It reads, Vienna. Just as he is about to leave, a tearful Dominica rings the doorbell, and he lets her in. While sharing some whiskey, Dominica informs him that his boss assaulted him. When Nate asks how she knew his location, she turns up the TV volume to mask their conversation. She questions him about the incident in the park in Russia, and kisses him after he explains. Nate tells her to go home and decide what she truly wants. The following day, Ivan visits Dominica before leaving for Vienna. He inquires about her progress with Nate, as their superiors are growing impatient. To buy herself time, she lies, claiming she is also working with Marta on the Boucher case, but will need additional funds. Ivan agrees and requests his coat to leave. Dominica retrieves it, secretly glancing at his passport before handing it over. Once Ivan leaves, Marta confronts Dominica with her gun. Furious because she overheard the lie, she believes the Boucher case belongs solely to her. Dominica promises to give Marta full credit and extra money, explaining she only lied to buy more time. Marta reluctantly agrees, having no other options. Later, Dominica travels to Vienna and opens a bank account there, while Marta meets with Volantov to reveal how she could get rid of Dominica. That night, Dominica returns home to find Marta murdered in the bathtub. Suddenly, Sergei appears behind her, grabbing her by the neck as a warning. This is the fate of those who betray secrets. He instructs her to call the police before vanishing. Cut to Nate, who reports to his superiors about meeting Marble in Vienna. Marble provides files confirming Dominica is a sparrow, which makes Nate see her as even more valuable for recruitment. Meanwhile, Dominica is questioned by the police, but she gives nothing away. Upon leaving the precinct, she finds Nate waiting outside. They return to his place, where he admits he knows she is a sparrow. Dominica recounts her story, emphasizing that her only concern is her mother's safety. Nate asks her to act as a double agent for him, promising protection. He offers her his room. Later that night, she joins him on the couch. After confirming she can trust him, she makes love to him. The following morning, after agreeing to his plan, Dominica resumes her routine. She writes a fake report on Nate, claiming she has him under control, then returns to her apartment to await his signal. A simple phone call that plays her favorite song. Dominica meets with Nate's superiors and undergoes a lie detector test to prove her trustworthiness. Once they accept her, she requests money. They laugh initially, but change their minds when she mentions she can deliver Boucher. The following Friday, the team flies to London to meet Boucher. Dominica stays in a special CIA-prepared hotel room, equipped with security cameras and a hidden set of discs under a desk to swap with the real ones later. While waiting at the bar for Boucher, Volantov unexpectedly appears. Dominica sends him to her room, knowing his presence might scare Boucher off. Soon after, Boucher arrives, and Dominica approaches her, saying Marta sent her. Boucher is displeased with the change and is about to leave, but Dominica convinces her to stay by threatening with incriminating pictures and reminding her of the money. Both women head to Dominica's room, where Volantov is waiting. Boucher hands over the discs in exchange for the money, and Dominica pretends to check them on her computer, secretly swapping them with the CIA's discs. Dominica and Volantov leave, instructing Boucher to wait an hour before leaving, but she, anxious and intoxicated, heads out immediately. On the street, she notices she's being followed and panics, tossing the money into a trash can, only to be struck and killed by a passing truck. Dominica, in the car with Volantov, hears the news via phone, and he informs her that orders have come to return to Moscow immediately, taking her passport with him. When they arrive in Moscow, Ivan takes the discs from Volantov before having him arrested. Both he and Dominica come under suspicion of aiding the Americans. When questioned, she denies any involvement, so she is subjected to various forms of torture, but refuses to break. They even show her a video of Volantov being shot for lying, yet when the interrogator gestures toward her head and she lies again, nothing happens. Ivan takes over the interrogation, and Dominica skillfully manipulates him into protecting her. She is allowed to return home, but feels so tainted that she doesn't let her mother hug her. After a tense meeting with Korchnoi and Zakharov, Ivan goes back to his apartment. He informs her that her request to continue working on Nate has been granted, and she kisses him before leaving. Dominica returns to Budapest and meets Nate. At his apartment, he expresses doubts about her rapid release. Dominica persuades him to relocate her and her mother to America, and to provide more funding. He agrees, and they make love. In the middle of the night, Dominica awakens to a noise and finds Sergei torturing Nate in the kitchen. She initially pretends to support Sergei, even helping him inflict pain to get the mole's name. But when he becomes distracted, she strikes back and helps Nate cut the straps binding him. A brief fight ensues. Sergei slips, and Dominica seizes the chance to stab him. The next day, she wakes in the hospital, steps out for a smoke, and is approached by Korchnoi, who reveals himself as Marble. Believing his time is short, he asks Dominica to expose him so she can become a national hero and take his place as the mole. She offers no clear answer, then checks on Nate before before leaving. Dominika surrenders to the police and requests to see the Russian ambassador. Once there, she instructs him to call Zakharov and inform him she possesses the mole's identity, which she will hand over in exchange for her freedom. The exchange is arranged that night at an airport. Nate walks with her to confirm the mole's identity, and she is warned not to flee or she will be shot. Nate, angry at her for what he thinks is deception, is surprised when the Russians remove the bag from the mole's face. It is not Korchnoi, but her uncle Ivan, framed thanks to evidence Dominika planted since her first arrival in Budapest. Nate quickly identifies Ivan as the mole. After the exchange, Ivan is shot by a Russian sniper, and Dominika is flown away by helicopter. Back in Russia, she is celebrated as a heroine and allowed to live comfortably with her mother. The film ends as she receives a phone call, and the only sound on the line is her favorite song.